One day in Coppell, 8 months after I had resigned from the savings and loan, doorbell rang. There was a constable at my door. He asked me, "Are you really John Smith?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I got a box for you." Pointed to it. I didn't pick it up. It was too big. Drug it inside. Started going through it. Looting, the public trust, conspiracy, fraud, racketeering, you name it, it was there. And I'm saying to myself, wait, don't they know I didn't do that? Don't they know that I wasn't part of the other guys? Doesn't it matter that I wasn't part of them and what they were doing? No. It doesn't. Because the top 6 or 7 officers were sued and criminal charges brought because they figured they'd just take their shotguns out and start shooting. When the FBI task force came to town, they were interested in taking names first. They kicked butt first and took names later. And they wanted it to be headlines. They wanted blood, guts, as much damage as they can do. At least about it that you could read in the newspaper. Being on the other end of the building, saying I wasn't part of them, didn't help. Saying I'm doing everything right here, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I feel good about what I'm doing. I was the liaison between the Arthur Young partner, CPA firm who prepared the audit, who did the audit. The financial statements were all prepared out of Vernon, Texas. Anybody know where Vernon is? They prepared out of Vernon. Didn't see those financial statements, but I was often called into duty to discuss revenue recognition, things like that with the audit partner at Arthur Young. The part of that I didn't know about at the time was that one of the main reasons why they didn't want me to know what was going on, what was really going on, was because I had to look the partner from Arthur Young in the eye and tell him, yeah, we're okay here. This transaction is just a matter of A, B, C, D, and we think it ought to be equal to E, and then we discuss it some more and reference and look at the materials, the sources we had, and make a decision. I also knew, with this, I didn't realize how politically charged it had become. It was amazing how politically charged it had become. I had this theory, though, that it's like the Greek fisherman. Okay, you've seen him take the big net. He's on the side of the seashore and he throws the net out and then reels in his catch and he sits down and he goes through it. And I kept imagining this is what the feds were going to do. They were going to start going through their catch and they were going to see, well, wait a second, this fish is Smith. Smith doesn't belong here. Let's throw him back where he belongs. Didn't happen. Of course, that's what kept me maintaining my balance forward on a day-to-day basis. I had a particular way about dealing with this lawsuit and the criminal charges that they pressed against me. It wasn't very successful. I kept thinking that it's going to go away. They're going to realize who's who and what's what. It's all going to go away. But instead, I learned from my lawyer, who saved my life, literally. Saved me. By the way, I also learned that lawyers have their own grapevine. That if there are sounds in the grapevine about people going to be incurring or looking at criminal charges, then they knew first, versus us regular citizens, about those kind of things that were going to happen. My lawyer, who we became close friends, he should have been a nun. And I say that because when we would be in a session, because I didn't know that I needed a lawyer until I got that lawsuit. And then I didn't know until 4 months after that I was going to need a criminal lawyer as well. But any time that we would be sitting and I was explaining who was who and what was what, and how I knew this large group of companies was supposed to do, because there were, I don't know, 20, 30 various companies. I turned out being the admin guy, of course, and I was the secretary of each of these companies. Doesn't mean that I knew anything about them necessarily, but I had to be the secretary. Somebody had to be on file for that. And there's a stack of papers somewhere that's got an organizational chart on it that I'll let you look at. And when you think, well, how can this happen and people not know about it? Well, I think it's called line of command. At least that's what they told me when I was in the Army. There was no communication, top to bottom. It was left, right, backwards, forwards, upside down. I'd learn more about what was going on when I'd go to the bathroom or go get a drink of water. I'd bump into somebody, they'd say, hey, did you hear about this and that? And I'd say, no, I didn't hear about it at all. I ran across this organizational chart once upon a time. Maybe you've seen it already. I don't know. But it's pretty silly. But when you look at it and you see how silly it is, that could have been drawn easily as the organizational chart of Vernon Savings in Dallas, in the Dallas office. Because there wasn't any. What there was a chairman who was a narcissistic individual who cared only about himself. He only used others for the purpose of masking something, of scheming something, of being a part of a transaction, and another person would be a part of a transaction, another person would be a part of a transaction. Nobody besides him knew all that was going on. That's how he masqueraded. That's how he was able to do what he did. In this process, the narcissistic part is, it doesn't explain it enough. When I say that he doesn't care about anybody, I mean he doesn't care about anybody. Only about himself 24/7. And he used everyone, didn't care whether or not they had families or careers or any of that I would assume that you're going to be interested in someday. Career now, family later, probably in that order, let's hope.